so plain and precious. Finally, the Book of Mormon is the keystone of testimony. Just as the arch crumbles if the keystone is removed, so does all the church stand or fall with the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. The enemies of the church understand this clearly.
When we remove the Lord's name, Emmanuel, from the name of his church, we inadvertently remove him as the central focus of our worship and our lives.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. So this morning I decided I'm going to try to go through these papers, and we'll just touch on them briefly rather than get to a full video thing of them, and then go from here for my day. As it's Christmas time, the views are down, or maybe it's just the church ordering YouTube to silence me. Could be both. So there's the scripture, the devil delighteth in idols. Let's look it up. It's in the Book of Mormon. And Isaiah. Delighteth in their abominations, as if he blessed an idol. 2 Nephi 9. This was the one that mission president in the MTC told us to read every single day of our mission. And it's a long one. It's, I think, probably the longest chapter in the Book of Mormon. But it's got a lot of good stuff in it, as long as you interpret it correctly and don't use an idol Christ to interpret this with. Because it goes over the 10 Commandments here. Woe unto the liar, for they shall be thrust down to hell. Woe unto the murderer that deliberately killeth. So they're defining murder different than killing. For he shall die. Woe unto them that commit whoredoms, for they shall be thrust down to hell. Yea, woe unto those who worship idols, for the devil of all devils delighteth in them. And those who die in their sins, sorry Mormons, cannot be saved in ignorance. So yeah, the glory of God is intelligence, and Mormons choose to be ignorant. They don't want the glory of God. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. And the reason for that is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints established an idol Christ for Mormons to worship. Jesus of Christianity, created by Roman Emperor Constantine. And so it's appalling that Christians and Mormons alike, for some stupid reason, believe that the Jewish scriptures are supposed to be interpreted as Christian, and Mormon in the case of Mormons. Jesus is the Jewish Christ, which means he's not real. He's a prophetic, messianic character prophesied for the future. That is the Jewish Christ. That is the Jewish interpretation of the Jewish scriptures written by a Jewish author. You are an anti-Semite automatically if you say Jesus is Lord. Jesus is the Christ. Celebrating Jesus' birthday, and you must say Merry Christmas. There's a war on Christmas. War on the idol god Jesus, huh? And so who's the one that delighteth in them? Yeah, Lucifer. And so this is exactly what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is pulling the big con on for Mormons. Because what does the Book of Mormon say? The keystone? 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 2. Oh, it's in the learning of the Jews, which means 3 Nephi 11 is not Jesus. 2 is a prophecy a messianic scripture of the Latter-day Christ, whom Joseph Smith made very clear in numerous passages is going to be a human, mortal parents, not some supernatural idol god. And so this is exactly why the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is so obsessed with banning porn, and now they've gone onto social media. It's a deceptive trick. They claim that it hurts children, when actually they're just trying to create a blacklist for when they get their kingdom next April conference, so that they can implement total authoritarian control over Utah. And we're already witnessing that it's happening. America has fallen, states are seceding from the nation, and people are having to decide whether they're going to continue to stay in the authoritarian control and be punished, or flee to a non-authoritarian controlled state. And this is all designed as a plot, but also a backup plot, and also a setting up for other plots. This is a very meticulous plot that they've been working on for 200 years on America to destroy it completely. And so one of the things that you probably are paying attention to is that we've got an election next year. And so if we have Americans who are fleeing authoritarian states, who's going to be voting in that state? Yeah. And so the Colorado case, yeah, every state should have been doing that, but they shouldn't have had to, because the federal government was required to do it. It's the 14th Amendment, Section 3. The federal government was supposed to do that, and they didn't do that, and so now we've got these problems as America is tanking into the toilet. Flush. But idol worshiping is not just believing in a deity that blesses your life and inspires you to hurt other people. Jesus told me to do this to you. But also somebody to fear, something to fear. That's also idol worship. And so what it's saying here is that not only does the devil delight in them, he uses them to control people. You have to do these things in order to be good. You have to do these things if you're bad, and we're going to punish you if you do those things. And so porn is idol worshiping for fear that they're trying to instill in people. And thus, on the underground, they're trying to create a blacklist from the internet, from porn sites, from social media now, so that they can use that against us when they get our kingdom. And so it's appalling that Mormons can't see this, that they're that far gone, that they can't pull out and say, this is wrong. They're leading us as lambs to a slaughter, just like Jim Jones, the Heaven's Gate guy, and others of psychopathic nature, using religion as the front to hurt people and steal their money. And so, yes, that's exactly why all of these Christian religions tell their followers to not commit sex crimes and demand that our school systems teach abstinence only, like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And yet they then get caught with the pool boy watching their wife and stuff like that, and other scandals. And the church has their own sex scandals. because it's a denial of science and how our sexual biology works, and turning women into abusers of men, demanding that men just turn it off. Turn it off. And abstain. And yet, they themselves know very well about cat scratch fever. Awesome song. And so Beam and Moat is in play with idol-worshipping religions and people. They are full-on judging others when they themselves are worshipping an idol god in their judging, whether it's pro or against in their judging, because Mormons will decorate their homes with idol gods, temples, even their family, as an outward appearance for those who come to visit, so that everybody sees that they're good and righteous. They're idol worshippers. And Jesus, Christians do the same thing, putting the cross on their wall, and pictures of Jesus and Mary and all that stuff. Idol worship. And so who's the only, it's from the Ten Commandments, of the Jews, by the Jewish author, which means he's talking about the Jewish Christ. So Jesus is a violation of the Ten Commandments, and yet Christianity and the church usurped them. All right. So, the Book of Mormon also talks about the dangers of authoritarian government in the case of monarchs, and talking about King Noah, rehashing that for the people of Mosiah. He's given up the throne and he's going to establish the law of judges, the Constitution. And so he's talking about how with the overthrow of the government, to have a monarch, King Noah, this had the people emulate what he was doing, but not only emulate to commit his sins and crimes, but also it turns society into a survival of the fittest. Because when people now realize they're not going to be punished for their crimes, they commit crimes. And they will justify being the first ones to commit the crimes, saying, well, I got to be the first to steal from this grocery store to get a supply of food and all this other stuff. And then my neighbor, he was the first one to steal from I need to get them back. He needs to share. All these justifications for stealing. And it's not just the people that is involved, but with the overthrow of America, we are going to witness not just religions, as the church wants it to be. They want to be sovereign, to take over the government of Utah and the surrounding states that will conform and comply to them. But also businesses and corporations. Are already involved in cheating people. They're raising their prices, the cost of living, and yet the minimum wage and the salary wage are not rising to be equal with the cost of living. And so with the stock market taken off, except for yesterday, they decided to sell high, because that's what they do. It's the billionaires, multi-billionaires who are in charge of the stock market. And so, yeah, I saw this coming. They were pumping it up, and then, boom, right before Christmas, they sell. And so all the people who put in $1,000 for them, thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Jesus, gotta forgive us. They just robbed you blind yesterday. And so you're going to see a lot more of that. Poor quality products, forcing you to have to buy more of it, or have to get repairs. and the cost of repairs gets so expensive that it almost forces you to have to buy something new. The poor quality of Windows 10 forcing you to get Windows 11, which means you got to buy a whole new system that can handle Windows 11. All these things are designed to attack us in a fallen government, when the government is not regulating business and the corporations, not regulating religions to keep them in check. They've got religious freedom. They need to back off and not commit crimes. And also the social media platforms. YouTube has their community guidelines, which are a violation of the laws of the land. But with a fallen government, YouTube will have full domain to do whatever they want. And if they don't like you, you're gone. If they find you religiously unacceptable because they're run by religion, then they will ban those channels. And so it'll be the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints tube. Only those approved by the church are allowed. You can watch as long as you pay to watch. And and then the press also. If the government's not going to hold them in check, like they did for Fox finally, but that got extreme. But still, with the war in Israel, we are seeing the press completely violate their licenses to be a reporter. That this is horrendous. That the press would just throw all their careers away just to pursue an attack on Israel. And now I'm starting to see Israelis who are blaming the Israeli government for not getting the hostages back from Hamas. And it's sad because they're not understanding. Hamas kidnapped your family. Hamas is to blame. And so you can't give in to terrorist demands. That's what this trade is all about, is that Hamas kidnapped them. And they're saying, hey, we want you to stop and leave us alone, or we're going to murder the hostages. And they have been. But with the Israeli soldiers who killed the 3 hostages that had escaped, that's not their fault. It's Hamas's fault for starting the war. Hamas are the terrorists. And so that was just a sad situation that occurred. But I see this also being played out with the American who's held hostage in the prison in Russia, who told the BBC that he doesn't believe that America has his back, that he's been abandoned by America. And dear God, he doesn't seem to understand. They already gave us the news previously from previously held captives by Russia. And they told us that they had to choose who gets to go free with the prisoners that we have. And so the wrong blame is being cast here. Russia kidnapped you and are holding you hostage. Russia is to blame. If America has no more Russians to trade with, there's nothing they can do, because Russia is then going to say, well, money then. And these are terrorists. Kidnappers are terrorists. Russia is a terrorist nation. They are at war with America. And for us to be namby-pambying around is stupid. But yeah, America has fallen. And so the states and the cities likewise are going to be doing the same thing. Everybody's going to do whatever they want, make whatever laws they want, and if you don't like it, leave or go to prison in the state's concentration camps. That's what they're setting this all up for, is for total chaos and anarchy in America. Civil war, if possible. So there's that one from last night. I'm planning on doing a greatest hits of Nelson's presidency. It's going to be a huge project, but I have most of the clips already set, ready to go. So it's just a matter of working on them. I can probably set them up on this computer and work on them while I'm back and forth. We'll see. I want to have it done before the April conference, so that we'll have a big April conference pre-show. And then Garna Mejia, her name means two things. In Swedish, it means walls. In Latin, it means just walls. So there we got that one out of the way. Yeah, here we have temple sex. I never did get to that one, did I? Betraying Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon to be accepted by the world. Joseph Smith History 119. The preachers of religion is what that's referring to, after pointing out that Jesus is the abominable Christ. And everybody misses it. It's right there for you. It was Willard Richards who set you up, putting in Jesus Christ for the name of the church. Those professors, and Mormons are professors of religion, were all corrupt. They draw near to their Christ with their lips, but their hearts are far from the actual Christ. It's towards Jesus. Joseph Smith was brilliant. Brilliant. And so Mormons teach for doctrines the commandments of men. And idol worshiping. Having a form of godliness. Oh, you're good if you do this. You're not good if you're like Travis. But Mormons deny the power. And so it's all about being blessed. I'm blessed because I had the right feeling. It's just reaffirming the feeling. That's all it is for Mormons. And they have no clue. And so temple sex, because I would explain the Egyptian origin, and then the Babylonian, and then the Greeks, and then the Romans, and then the condemnation of Constantine with his idol god Jesus. Oh, the one mighty and strong. I never did get to that one. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr.'s first presidency statement, which was multiple pages, which could have been just summarized with, I don't know. Because he'd been so deceived by Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball that he didn't know. Yeah, Nostradamus is predicting annihilation, the end of the world this year. He was a Jew, even though his parents were converted to Catholicism, and so he's not a religious Jew per se, but apparently by being a prophet, he went against the Catholic Church. Yeah, the premortal council in heaven turned into white supremacist. Because you believe in idol god Jesus, all chaos branches out from it. You cannot produce good from a bad seed. You cannot produce truth from a falsehood. You can expose what the truth is from a falsehood within their lies, but that's different. And so, in the premortal council in heaven as understood by Mormons, we believe that we were all spirit children, all that were about to come to earth. And I did this with Jasmine's question. And And so how many mothers in heaven does it take to produce all of the spirits that will be coming to earth and inhabiting a body? And how often are they supposed to give birth in order for it to happen? Because there's really not a lot of time to do all of this. And so you have a situation of Abraham. And so we were all gathered at the Council of Heaven, or others say it was just a council, and then they went and told us, and then we fought each other, and then there were fence sitters. And then there were those who fell in love and hoped that God would send them both down together so that they can meet each other and get married for all eternity. To be Saturday's warriors. It's 4, isn't it? No, it's not 4, it's 3. What? It's not. It's these I will make my rulers. Where is it? I need my scriptures. Yeah, here we go. Send them to earth that they may dwell. We'll prove them herewith. See if they will keep their first estate and be added upon in the afterlife. And so this is the plan of salvation of Mormons, is where this comes from. And yeah, here we are, verse 23, which is on the next page up at the top left column. Left page, top left column. And God saw these souls, the intelligences that were organized before the world was, that they were good. He stood in the midst of them and he said, "These I will make my rulers." And for this we have foreordination rather than predestination in the church. But this concept of those who are born in the covenant Mormon, which are the majority of whites, are the rulers. That is a white supremacist belief. That by being white, you are the ruler over all other mankind, and all else must be subservient to you. And so then you have genealogy that was enhanced upon by the Brighamite church. I think it was Wilford Woodruff who pushed that. But Brigham Young had the bloodline for the apostles, that only the pure race, the pure blood, was allowed to rule the church. And so family first, which is the KKK slogan, is well known within Mormonism. And so Ephraim is used from the Jews to be the coded symbolism of white supremacy. That Ephraim were the white rulers in Europe who came to America and were to restore the kingdom as rulership. And so this Brigham Young thing is very evil and yucky. And so intelligence is equal truth. Either have it or seek it. So that's something else. Alright, so we throw that one away. Mormons making up Mormonism in their own image. So yeah, again, that's the idol worshiping thing. That's section 1, verse 16. Mormons do their own thing and thus create their own God. Well, my God approves me of doing this. Well, my God approves me of doing that. If you're picking and choosing which commandments to obey or not, and which hedge laws to obey or not, that's what you're doing, is you're saying that, well, I know it says that in the For Strength of the Youth pamphlet, but my Jesus tells me it's okay. It's just a guideline. And so, yeah, you then justify lying and crimes and sins by saying that Jesus is okay with it, and it's faith promoting. The church loves to pull that stunt. They purposely withhold information and lie to us and claim that they want something faith promoting. And Jasmine, last night, sent me the Arizona Stake bulletin from President or Elder Bednar, in which they were to have a Facebook channel in which everything has to be faith promoting, and he gave the guidelines for how to keep it faith promoting. Hilarious. And LDS bishop, child sextortion, sexploitation. The Protect LDS Children bishop, who was excommunicated because he simply asked the prophets to have a written out questions like for adults, and they excommunicated him for it. The church wanted bishops to get sexually explicit with kids. And with the tithing extortion, bishops are the bagmen, if you understand the criminal operation. Nixon had a bagman, and Rachel Maddow's book covered that whole historical event. And the bishops are involved in making sure Mormons pay up and punishing those who don't, even though Nelson has now changed it so that partial payment still allows for participation in the church and to go to the temples and such, and to be counted as a member because you're participating, which is a self-destructive end if you were to follow it through. But to do it now, right before they get their kingdom back, they know exactly what they're doing with the timing of it all, is because once they get their kingdom, all of this, you will not be paying tithing anymore, and so there won't be partials. You will be a slave to the kingdom. Everything must go to the kingdom, and they allow you only enough so that you can live, so that you can continue to be a slave. You cannot have increase. It's right there in section 119. They will be restoring that. And it's just abhorrent that Mormons are in denial of what's coming, the danger that the church is to them, that they need to come out of Babylon, section 64. Not just come out of the church, but come out of Utah. The land is polluted. Ammonia is too high up in Logan, in that valley there, Cache Valley. And we have the toxic Great Salt Lake problem now. The drought exposed the toxins. And so we're all dying by poisoning. Plus the poisoning that they've already previously been doing to us all these generations. All to weed out the weak. If you don't like it, leave. Just what the rest of the states are now beginning to do with the abortion issue. And so bishops are also involved in the sextortion and sexploitation of the children and members, such that you go to the bishop to be worthy, and with the church telling you abstinence only, and denying your sexual nature, which is a basic necessity. Just like eating and sleeping, we have to have joy, as we'll use the Book of Mormon term for it. It doesn't necessarily mean that she has to be named Joy, but best of both worlds. And so Mormons are made to feel guilty when it's nature calling. and so we're not only turned into weapons, but we're made to feel ashamed and guilty, as if we had committed a sin that we need to report to our bishop, and then the bishop punishes us. And thus was the push by the bishop to stop that for LDS children. But bishops are the bad guys, purposely put in, and they're lay ministry. They don't get paid like the prophets do for priestcraft. Section 119. And so the prophets are able to distance themselves. Oh, it's the bishop. Oh, he did it. Inspired by Jesus. You don't believe that he has authority from Jesus? And they get you. They blame Jesus for everything. And then by the fruits ye shall know them thing. The Mormons get a spiritual witness, but they don't have the physical witness. The church purposely won't let you get the physical witness so that you would know whether the spiritual witness is true or not. And we are told in the Book of Mormon, even in chapter 9 of 2nd Nephi, about the dualism of spirit and physical. And the spirit is nothing. It's dead if there is no physical component for it. And it's a simple doctrine that Mormons should have been taught. I was taught. I don't know if the new generations are getting taught this, but it's right there in the Book of Mormon. Okay. Yeah, because of the spiritual witness and getting the right feeling, guys like me, they instantly get the wrong feeling. And I've had numerous comments by Mormons. Oh, you look evil. Oh, you sound evil. Oh, just because of the witness of the Spirit. It's not faith promoting for the church, therefore it has to be the other feeling. And it's stupid. And so when Mormons feel threatened, when I go over the Book of Mormon with you, that's not the feeling that I got when I read the Book of Mormon. And so they then believe that other interpretation is twisting the scriptures, and you're of the devil for knowing how to manipulate the words in the Book of Mormon. In the words of Nelson, I don't manipulate them. That's what's awesome about Nelson. I let him speak for himself. I just pull them out for you to pay attention to, because he slips them in and you miss them. See, when everybody else was upset with him, calling them lazy learners and lax disciples, I heard, I'm the Antichrist. And you don't get it. He's the Antichrist. He's anti-Jewish Christ. That is the Christ of the Book of Mormon, of Joseph Smith, the Jewish Christ. And Nelson, by saying it's Jesus, is declaring to the world he's the Antichrist. He is the Korahors of the Book of Mormon, the Antichrist of the Book of Mormon. When he says, Jesus, the healing power of Jesus, gratitude in that particular case, but Jesus can heal you. Jesus, interpret the Book of Mormon with Jesus. Jesus is born. We're celebrating his birth. Heavenly Father, I'm not going to talk about him. because he raped Mary as a 14-year-old daughter. And you miss those things because he tricks you with Jesus. And so Mormons refuse to study because of this. It's all about feelings, and they stop. They will not produce the physical witness of what they believe is a spiritual witness, so that they can confirm that the spiritual witness is true or not. And so then they attack me. They become weapons, just like in Alma chapter 1 with that Korihor called Nehor, which gave rise to the Order of Nehors, which gave rise to the Gadianton Band of Robbers, which became the secret combination, which the Great and Abominable Church joined and overthrew the Nephites. And so, yes, when Mormons are threatened, they see my titles, they'll either fight me by coming to the video to put a hate comment and a death threat or just a simple thumbs down, or they flight. Now, this is a psychological manipulation on you for self-fulfilling prophecies to get you to self-fulfill their self-fulfilling prophecy of. There's more than just fight or flight. They're trying to turn us into animal behaviors to control us. That's a psychological manipulation, and religion does it too with good or evil. It's a false dichotomy. And so the flight part that people know that they've been brainwashed in, if they were to pay attention, is that they won't watch it. And then I'll disappear and you'll never see me again. But that's how that is applied to Mormons. And so, yeah, because you attack those who don't believe as you do, you are a terrorist. You are enforcing your religious beliefs with violence. You are a terrorist now. Islam, terrorism. Brigham Young, terrorist. Christians, terrorists. Religions are terrorists. They speak words that say they're supposed to be good and loving and kind, but nope. In reality, they are terrorists. That's what happens when you worship idols. Alrighty, we're going right through these quick and fast. Son of Man, Ezekiel, and Matthew. Probably have to make that a video. Alright, and yeah, it's sad that because of the white supremacist belief in family first, the bloodline of righteousness, and justifying murder of the wicked, spilling the blood because of their disloyalty, there are far too many singles in this church. Not just because they aren't getting married, but the number of divorces in the church is way too high for a church that promotes family and love and the family proclamation and supporting marriages and all this stuff. This is the physical results of the church's words to the Mormons. This is how the words can be identified as false. That Mormons are incapable of living good family lives because of the wickedness of the prophets. You know, this is how it is played out in the physical realm. And it's just another witness against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as being false. And so that's the sad reality. And the single women, it's sad because Benson came out and said, no blessing will be withheld from you for being faithful and righteous. And so you get those women who just don't appeal to men, and it's sad. But then you also have these completely gorgeous, hot women to the majority of men who refuse to pick a guy, who want to live their life, who want to go on a mission, who want to get an education, who want a career, and think that when they're in their 40s, that then they can just look for the perfect guy who's like them, the perfect woman, and then they can get married and live happily ever after with 1, maybe 2 kids before she's no longer able to have kids. And oops, a lot of unhappy Mormons. And that's why Mormon women are the highest per capita in the universe for taking depression meds, not because the psychologists here in Utah, led by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is having them do that. Yeah. I've already covered that. The scandal of Karen. Nobody's investigating. Nope. Saudi Arabia. Settling Zion, LDS Millennium. I don't have confidence that Mormons will change and believe. They're stuck in their spiritual witness trap. Chains. The chains of yoking themselves to Jesus. Yes! Nelson, change that doctrine. Mormons now yoke themselves to Jesus. And thus, Jesus isn't real, he's an idol god, and so if you yoke yourself to Jesus, you yourself get yoked into the spiritual witness feeling trap. Brilliant. And so, yeah, I'm fully confident that if a Mormon can prove that the Book of Mormon is Christian and not the learning of the Jews, I will quit doing videos on YouTube. Yeah, Mormon crickets. You're all anti-Semites because you're spiritual witness feelings. You are made enemies of mankind. And, you know, the church has to do something in return, you know, like shut down and give all the money back. I'm sure they'll do that, won't they? And the final paper only had 2 papers that have to be done into actual videos for you. Okay, feelings, consequences of our interpretation of events that happen. And so, yeah. Notice a theme going with all these? Idol worshiping. And spiritual witness feelings. Yep. And so if you use the Book of Mormon as it's supposed to be used and interpret it as the learning of the Jews, which means you're going to have to learn the learning of the Jews, and I've got that video sometime, then you'll get the consequences that will produce feelings for that. And I always remember when I played basketball, I sucked as a free throw shooter. When I first started in 8th grade, they purposely put me on the basketball team in 8th grade to get me on the high school basketball team. And despite Stan Lowry, with that incident where he was run out of the town, but nonetheless, I was in a cast as my leg, one bone had a crack in it going up inside. Not broken, cracked. It's important that it not be broken. Higher level learning for those who are following along and studying. But I would then go on to high school, completely sucking at free throw shooting. A negative 100% free throw shooter. If that's even possible. And so the basketball coach, specifically for me, was Coach Lubin. The general coach was forgetting his name, so I guess it doesn't matter at the moment. But regardless, Coach Lubin had a gorgeous daughter close to my age. But because of Coach Lubin, yeah, it would have been suicide to approach her, to get to know her, ask her out. You do not mess with the trainer's daughter. He wore cowboy boots. But man, she was gorgeous. Just like Heather Teska was gorgeous. My goodness. Memories on the corner of my mind. And so, yeah, Dad threw them. Anyway. And so he taught me how to shoot a free throw. And he used physics to help teach me how to shoot a free throw. Getting my body positioned correctly, and lining up, and getting the arm in the right position. And he said that if you do your body motions correctly at the moment of liftoff of the basketball, you will feel that you did it right. Yeah. And at the end of it all, I was an 82% free throw shooter. It works. That is the process of faith. Turning the word into physical reality, into the consequences in the physical realm. So there we have it. There was nothing on the backside, right? Oops. There was still something on the backside. But I've already covered it. Learning of the Jews, prophecy of the future, post-Roman, calendar dates, IDs of characters. Okay. So, we're done. Awesome. So now I can bathe and shave in the time to make this video for you.